Have you ever been forced, misled, or tricked to sign in something? That's where free consent in contract comes in. Today, we will be presenting on the concept free consent under the Indian Contract Act 1872. Consent is considered free when it is not influenced by coercion, misrepresentation, mistake, fraud, or undue influence. In the absence of these contract and agreement may not be legally enforceable. Let us now examine each of these in detail.
So now let us talk about coercion. What is coercion? In simple words, coercion is a threat or force used by one party against another for compelling him to enter into an agreement. Section 19 provides that an agreement consent to which is obtained by coercion is voidable at the option of party whose consent is so obtained.
Understand coercion with a very simple example. Assume that Mr. A who threatens B to sell his property to Mr. A, or otherwise Mr. A would hurt him or kill him. So here we come to know that A is threatening or detaining through threaten Mr. B. This is known as coercion.
So let us talk about undue influence. What is undue influence? Undue influence is a moral coercion as opposed to physical coercion mentioned in section 15. It is the dominance of weaker mind by a strong mind to an extent which causes the behavior of weaker person to assume an unnatural characteristic or character. It is an influence which compels another person to do something which he would not have done if he had been a free agent. A friendly advice or a persuasion would not constitute undue influence. When the consent of a party to an agreement is obtained by undue influence, the contract is concluded as voidable.
So now let us understand undue influence with an example. Sita is a person who is very old and is dependent on her nephew Mohan. Mohan tells Sita that if you sign all your properties in Mohan's name, then Mohan would take care of her. Sita, who is under pressure and who wants Mohan to take care of her, signs the contract. So here we come to know that Mohan used his power over Sita. This is undue influence.
Let's talk about misrepresentation. The word representation means a statement of fact made by one party to the other before or at the time of contract is made with the regard of some existing fact or some past event which materially induces the formation of the agreement. Thus, misrepresentation means false representation made innocently with an honest belief as it is truth by a party without any intention to deceive the other party.
So now let us understand misrepresentation with an example. Neha wants to sell her house to Ramesh. She tells him that this house had never had any leakages. Though Neha had no intention to deceive Ramesh, but later Ramesh finds out that this had some kind of leakages. So here we can understand that misrepresentation occurs.
Let's talk about mistake. Mistake means nothing but having a wrong belief about something. It happens when someone thinks they are doing one thing but actually does something else because of an error. Mistakes are of two types. One is mistake of law and other one is mistake of fact. Mistake of law are of three kinds. One is mistake of general law of the country and mistake of foreign law, mistake of private rights of a party relating to a property and goods, etc. There are two types. One is the unilateral mistake and other one is bilateral mistake. The effect of the contract formed by a mistake is void.
Now let us understand mistake with an example. A owns two horses, one is white and one is black. A sells the horse for 50,000 to B. A thinks that A is selling the white horse, but B assumes that A is buying the black horse. So here it is a mistake of both the parties without identifying the subject to matter. So this is an example of mistake. What means a misrepresentation of a fact with an intention to deceive the other party? Fraud is the willful representation made by a party to a contract with an intent to deceive the other party or to induce such party to enter into a contract. It means a false statement made knowingly or without belief in its truth or relentlessly without caring whether it is true. Effect of fraud. When consent to an agreement is caused by fraud, the agreement is a contract voidable at the option of a party whose consent was so called. Now, let us understand fraud with an example. Assume that there are two persons, Mr. A and Mr. B. Mr. A, the owner of the car, sells his car to Mr. B knowing that the car is not in a proper condition by saying that to B, this car is in a proper condition. So, B later realizes that this car is not a new one. So, this is known as fraud, where Mr. A has the intention to deceive Mr. B. Let's test your understanding with a short quiz. Question 1. A contract is signed after one party is threatened with imprisonment if they refuse to sign. The agreement stands as. Question 2. A person sells a second-hand laptop to another party stating it is as new, but while he genuinely believes it, later it turns out to be a defective. This is that. Question 3. An agreement is entered into for the sale of goods, but the party are unaware that the goods are already destroyed before the contract. Such an agreement is. Question 4. An insurance applicant fails to disclose the serious medical condition while applying for the life insurance policy. His silence amounts to. Question 5. When a person is authority uses the influence to gain an unfair advantage in a contract is known as. Question 6. A contract where both the parties enter freely without mistake, misrepresentation, undue influence, corrosion is considered to be dash. So, hereby I conclude that a contract to be legally enforceable by law must fulfill all the essential elements of a valid contract.